I'm sure you have all read comment sections where whenever there is a report in the news of a dog attack, especially if the dog involved is a pit bull type dog, the comment sections on these news reports are always filled with the most crazy, and I mean crazy, comments that are painful to read. They are sickening. They they induce nausea. They make me sick. They actually make me feel sick. So it's to the point where I try not to even go to the comment sections because it's so predictable. I know what I'm going to see there. It's always the same. And it doesn't matter what happened. The circumstances of the attack are irrelevant to these dog nuts. They don't care what happened. They will always defend the dog and blame the owner or blame the victim. And it doesn't matter. I can show them evidence, and I have in videos that I've uploaded about pit bulls, about BSL in Canada and the UK. I provided examples of family pit bulls that were raised from the time they were puppies with love. They were cherished members of the family. They were well trained. And still, after years of being the sweetest dogs, great with the kids, they just turned out of the blue and killed a child. And you can show these people evidence like this, and they will still find a way to deny it and to blame the owner or blame the victim. And it's just, I'm at a point where it's like, when you bang your head against the wall so many times, you kind of feel like you're going to give up. I don't know what I can say anymore to get these people to see. I think the only thing I can do is make my video on cognitive dissonance, which I'm working on, and that's going to be my next video, I promise. But I just wanted to get this one out of the way because I've been saying I'm going to make it for a while. I just want to make it, get it out of the way. We're going to talk about what they say in the comments. It's always the same. Like I said, it's very predictable. They always will say that it is the owner's fault. And they will actually fabricate stories. They will fabricate stories out of thin air to make the owner seem responsible for the attack. For example, Austin Brown, the little boy who had his arm ripped off by two dogs. They made up the story that the little boy put a sock over his hand and put his hand under the fence. And so that the dogs on the other side of the fence thought that it was, I don't know, a prey animal, and they, went in for his hand. But that never happened. It never happened. I was in personal contact with his mother. I know what happened. The boy was minding his own business. The dogs dug under the fence. And he went and said that he touched the puppy's nose. The puppy. See, it's the language. The problem is that we are teaching kids that dogs are cute little puppies. And, we could be talking about fully grown huskies, German shepherds, Dobermans, Rottweilers, pit bulls. We still put this idea in children's heads that they are sweet puppies. And because of the cartoons that we make them watch and the books that we read to them and the movies that we show them, they have this idea, this unrealistic idea of what dogs are. They think they're friendly and sweet. They're not. They're unpredictable, and it doesn't matter how you teach your child to behave around dogs. Dogs are unpredictable. And what people do too is that they expect parents to have their eyes on their children constantly, to not take their eyes off their children for even a second. And if they do, they are attacked and branded irresponsible parents, terrible parents. What kind of craziness is this? When I was growing up, I was given freedom. I was out all day. When I was 10, 11 years old, riding my bike around, I was not constantly supervised. And especially, I understand now is a different time. People are more protective of their kids. But if you have a fenced backyard, guys, what insanity is this, that if you put your child in a fenced backyard, that you have to keep your eyes on the child constantly? I can't believe the expectations people hold of, for parents. How can you expect any parent to watch their children constantly? You can't. And you shouldn't even have to, especially in a fenced backyard, your own backyard. Your child should be able to touch the fence in his backyard or her backyard. The point is, there should not be an unpredictable, dangerous predator on the other side of the fence. If the child puts his or her hand through the fence, there should be no danger. There should be no chance of their arm being bitten or ripped off. There should simply be no dangerous animals in our communities. And let's imagine the parents of this child had a medical emergency, or something happened and the child needed help and needed to go to the neighbor's house for help. It seems that children are not allowed to do this anymore, because whenever there's an attack, if the child goes onto the neighbor's property and is attacked, the parents are always blamed, or the child is blamed. Shouldn't have been in the neighbor's yard. Dog was only doing its job. What if that kid needed help? He should be allowed to go to the neighbors for help without the risk of being attacked by a freaking animal. I just can't believe what this society has come to, and it's come to the point where I just really cannot bear to read these comments, because I do feel so sick when I read them. And even when I just look around on the internet, and I look even outside at my neighbors, I see what's going on. It's so depressing that the only way I'm able to find any happiness in this world, honestly now, it's to detach, to disconnect from what is going on out there, because what is going on out there is so unbelievably sick. And I have to lose myself in my hobbies and in my family, and just keep my scope of awareness very small. And because I'm so aware of what is out there, I don't need to read any more reports. These reports are coming regularly every few days. It's just one after another after another. Comments are always the same and nothing changes. And I'm like, years ago, I was like, how many more of these attacks do there need to be before people wake up? And it just seems like there's no end, and it's just unbelievable. But getting back to the comments, so they blame the parents. They will say that the dog must have been raised, not raised properly. The dog must have been untrained, abused, or something. The children must have pulled on their ears or their tail. The parents did not teach them how to act around dogs, didn't teach them how to respect animals. It just goes on and on like that. It's always the kid's fault, always the parents' fault. And it's never the breed, they say. And whenever someone comes along with some common sense and just points out the obvious, that these dogs were bred for blood sports, that they were bred to bait bulls and bears, and that they were bred for their gameness and for their powerful bites and for the way they clamp down and shake until their victim is dead, the way they bite differently from other dogs, that other dogs bite and let go, but these breeds don't. They always respond by laughing. They put the little laughing emoji, haha, like that's funny. They always laugh at people who point out the truth. They always bully them, call them stupid, call them ignorant. Almost always they cannot spell properly. They'll always write like "you're ignorant" with Y-O-U-R, and just they'll tell you always they bring up the fact that Chihuahuas bite more, other breeds bite more, all dogs can bite, as though that matters, as though a Chihuahua can put you in a hospital. They'll always say that if the dogs were any other breed, they would call it a dog attack. But because it's a bully breed, they have to say pit bull attack. They always say that they are unfairly like misrepresenting pit bulls, that they will not report on other dog attacks, that they only sensationalize or report on pit bull type dog attacks. There's a reason for that. It's because other breeds are not doing the damage that pit bulls do. I don't know, they think there's some sort of conspiracy against pit bulls. The fact is that schnauzers and collies and beagles, these other breeds of dogs are not doing the damage that pit bull type dogs are doing. So what do you think? Honestly just don't understand how their minds work. Those dogs are not capable of inflicting the sort of damage that pit bull type dogs inflict. Sure, they might bite more, but what's going to happen if a child gets bitten by a beagle or a basset hound or a poodle? They're going to get a lollipop and a Band-Aid, and that's it. It's not going to make the news. Because those other breeds of dogs are not decapitating babies. They're not disemboweling them. They are not dismembering them. So it's kind of like a non-issue. It's a non-story. There's nothing to report. Of course, being bitten by a dog is an issue, and it should be, I think, reported and addressed. And I mean, we should get these dogs out of our society because no child deserves to be bitten, and I don't care if they provoke the dog. Children are naturally curious, especially very young kids, babies, toddlers. They naturally explore their environments. They will naturally pull on things. We should allow them, we should provide them with an environment wherein it is safe for them to do that. And having a dog in the home is not safe. In the same way, having, poison containers under the sink accessible to children is not safe. Or any other kind of hazard, electrical or whatever. We take measures to make our homes safe for kids. We should be doing the same by getting rid of the family dog, because most dog attacks are carried out by the family dog or by a dog that belongs to a family member or a friend. So we should not be having these animals in our vicinity, in the children's space. We need to get them out. And, and like I said, there's just so many stories where the children were doing nothing. They were sitting in their car seats. They were sitting in their little bouncy chairs or whatever. And the dogs came out of nowhere. They were sleeping in their cribs. And the dogs pulled them out of their cribs, shredded them up, killed them. And these are dogs that had no history of aggression. They were sweet family dogs for years prior to these attacks, and still these dog lovers will defend them and blame the owners as though the owners did something wrong or the children did something wrong. It is a marvelous and just unbelievable mental trick that their minds perform that, like I said, I'm going to address in my next video about cognitive dissonance, but like these comments, so yeah, they laugh, the laughing emojis, they bully, they always say it's not the breed, they deny genetics, they deny the breed's history, and they make anyone who speaks sense, they make them out to be crazy. If you don't agree with them that pit bulls are sweet, family dogs that never attack unprovoked, if you don't believe all of these lies that they spew in spite of the evidence, the very clear and plentiful evidence to the contrary, they'll call you crazy. So, I just feel like there's not even any point in getting involved in the comments sections or saying anything, because they're just going to laugh at you, even if you point out facts. Hard facts, indisputable facts. They're still going to laugh at you and bully you. And what's the point? I don't know. I just have given up on commenting on these articles. I don't know. I feel like I could have put a lot more effort into assembling different screenshots for you, and I apologize. It's just too, like I said, sickening and nauseating to read. But I know they're out there. I know that they are out there. These people are seriously in denial. seriously mentally ill, seriously lacking in compassion and empathy. Uh, it is just, oh yeah, and another thing they do always is they put pictures of their dogs, usually lying on top of or under or next to their babies, and they will say, does my dog look vicious to you? Oh, my dog is so vicious. My dog will only lick you to death. Oh, this, like as if a dog that attacks is looking vicious 24/7 all its life. They all look the same. They all have their tongues hanging out with the corners of their mouths turned upwards to make it look like they're smiling when they're not smiling, because dogs are not capable of smiling. They're just regulating their body temperature, and still, they use this as evidence that their dog is friendly and sweet, when the dogs that attacked and killed children or people in general in the most brutal, sadistic ways. Well, dogs aren't capable of being sadistic because it's just, they're so simple and so instinct driven. It's not like sadism, but in the most brutal and horrifying ways, I should say. They are all, they all look sweet right before they attack. They all look the same. They all have the same expressions, and they were all very cuddly. And so just because, and that's another thing, people use their own personal experience as evidence. Your own personal experience is not evidence. It is anecdotal evidence, but it doesn't count for anything, and it's neither here nor there. No one cares that you've known 5 different pit bulls in your life or whatever that were the sweetest dogs and never attacked, because not all of them will attack, obviously. Some of them will be the sweetest dogs for their whole lives, and all that means is that you were lucky. They are all unpredictable, and they are all ticking time bombs, and you just never know which one is going to snap. Because there have been so many cases of people who have had the sweetest dogs for years that one day just snapped and attacked and killed someone or seriously injured someone, and no one can explain it, and they're always shocked and horrified. And by saying that your dog never did that, as though that counts for something, like that is just so disrespectful to the victims and to the owners of those dogs, because you're implying that they were somehow irresponsible when they were not. And you're insisting that they were. How insulting. Just deal with the truth. You're always assuming that the owner is lying. Why is it so difficult for people to just realize that they are unpredictable, that they can snap, that their genetics can kick in at any moment, that their natural predatory aggression can kick in at any moment when they hear a loud shriek or see a sudden movement and become startled, or whatever. And that's another thing too. People leave comments where they say like, oh yeah, like the dog obviously got startled. Talking about that ice bucket challenge where a woman got attacked after she had a bucket of ice dumped over her head, and she started, yelling. This dog came up and attacked her. And people are saying, yeah, well, the dog was startled by a loud noise and shrieks and didn't know what was going on. Okay, so the dogs do this, they become startled and they attack. And it's like these dog lovers acknowledge that, but then they still want to maintain the presence of these dogs in our society. That's crazy. That's like, imagine there was a human being with a mental disorder who, whenever they became startled, would just randomly attack people. And you're like, oh yeah, well, that's how they are. They become startled and they attack. Well, what do we do with people like that? We put them away. We get them out of society in the interest of everyone's safety. So here we have dog lovers acknowledging that dogs become startled and attack when they are startled. These dogs, if that is the case, and they know it is the case, they have no business in our homes or in our communities, because they're going to make loud noises sometimes. They're going to make sudden movements sometimes that are going to startle dogs. Get the dogs out of our society. They're expecting people to what? To not make sudden movements or startling noises? Are we now We have no freedom at all. We have to tiptoe. We have to walk around on eggshells around these mutants so that we don't startle them. Whatever happened to our freedom? We talk about being free. America touts itself as being the land of the free. How free are people if they cannot shriek when they get ice dumped on their head, or if a child can't come around the corner of their house running, or whatever, crying, whatever they do to startle these beasts? They're not free to do these natural human behaviors because, they might startle the dog and then it's their fault. That's insanity. We are being terrorized by these dogs, and the war on terror needs to be fought right here, right now, against these dogs. And we need to get them the hell out of our communities, because people are going to continue. Every few days there's going to be another brutal attack, another child getting their face ripped off, another person dying, and this is just going to go on and on and on. And then in the comments you always read also people say, sending love and light, and prayers, because they're not all dog nutters. Some of them do seem to have compassion, and they're all sending prayers as if that's going to change anything. It isn't. It's just going to keep happening over and over until people wake up and see that they are just believing all of these lies about dogs. And they need to realize that they are unpredictable predators, ticking time bombs, that by having them in our homes and in our society, we are playing Russian roulette. And it is sickening that we've made it okay and acceptable to play Russian roulette with the lives of our children. I just can't take it anymore. I'm going to go and do some nice relaxing things right now and take my mind off of this. I'm just glad that there are other people out there who are opening their eyes, who are going to carry on the fight. If you feel like you have more strength than I do, go into those comment sections and, interact with these people, set them straight. I'm not sure, though, how effective that's going to be. You might plant seeds, as they say, in their minds. You might give them something to think about, which might click in a few months or years. Somewhere down the line, they might wake up. I don't know. Stay tuned for my next video about cognitive dissonance, because what it is these people hold very strong, very dear, very deep personal beliefs about these animals. And you cannot just expect them to all of a sudden just change and say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense, and yeah, I see reason, and now I get what you're saying, and I believe differently now. It doesn't happen that easily. We need to chip away slowly at their beliefs by attacking their beliefs from different angles, and just anyway, I will talk about that in my next video. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well, and thanks for watching. And like I said in my last video, if there's a future for humanity, it's got to be dog-free. Take care, guys, and I'll see you soon.